Yeah. So I asked her to have this space just to give you an idea of what we have done and what we are doing at the School of Education and how that can feed in with and how you can design a COIL course. So the very first thing I want to say is one of the approaches we took was to provide, to get to discuss our experience with critical friends. Most of our critical friends are with SUNY COIL. So SUNY COIL is actually the organization in the US which has really proposed COIL as for the first time. I think it is about 10 to 15 years ago, I don't know, but they used the word COIL for the first time. So we are in collaboration with them, in communication with them quite often, and quite often we ask that critical friend feedback on what we are doing. One of the things that I've done with them is to run some webinars, especially on a designing tool that John Kerr and I created to be able to brainstorm around COIL. It's not a compulsory tool, but it's something that could be useful. We also have the University of Denver that we are collaborating with. They're our priority partners. And again, with Casey Dinger, who is the COIL coordinator, we would say, in Denver University. I'm working through book chapters and again, participation to conferences, just to have that critical aspect, because we don't want to be in isolation on how we do the COIL. We really want to be doing that COIL in a way that's worthwhile and meaningful. We also have other critical partners, and one thing I really suggest you to do, please sign up for the Hong Kong University COIL conference, which is going to run tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. It's free, it's online, there's a time difference, of course, but as soon as you log into the conference, you are given your own UK time for each of the interventions. There are more than 30 interventions on COIL, so you will see what the world is doing in terms of COIL, and plus they have created a very interesting tool, which is a Padlet tool, where people can just upload information about a course they would like to COIL, and someone across the world will answer with, I'm really interested in this. It could be that you are the one across the world answering to some other people on the Padlet. And again, it's a way to connect. Okay, use the tool for assessment for partners that we have on our website, on the university website, to have a look at who you would like to pair up with. We are working around these type of opportunities with the SUNY COIL as well. So on the Teams, you will see soon me posting a link and asking you, do you want to come to see a SUNY COIL hub where you can share opportunities for COIL with partners in the US? Please sign up. So all of these opportunities come to you as a way to connect with partners for the specific action of COIL. Okay, we don't need to give you much of background, we already spoke about this, but please keep in mind that COIL also gives opportunity for scholarship of learning and teaching type of research. And that is for whoever of us is on that learning and teaching contract, would be really worthwhile, but also opens up opportunities for research onto the research and teaching contract. And again, that there's so much out there that you can have access to as a research on this topic. This is what we did as one of our work here at the School of Education. So 2 years ago, as I said, we had the ethical approval to interview our students and work out around our qualitative data on how can we really break down the SUNY COIL model into some more details on how to do it. So the SUNY COIL model is the very traditional model to do COIL that also Lexi had shared with you. Two institutions minimum. I have to warn, some consortiums like CBIS might have more than 2 institutions as a minimum, but this is something that needs to be discussed if you want to do that collaboration. Anyway, 2 institutions come together with their own individuality, so they have their own credits, their own students, their own fees, a language, their own language, and a language of common communication. Now, most of the times, English is the language of common communication, but it's not the only one. It could be French, Spanish, Marathi, or Mandarin for that matter. So it really depends on the agreement between the two institutions. Professors or lecturers or faculties, they have to collaborate with each other first. Let me give you a statement that a lecturer in India gave us during the interview stage. She said, the real collaboration started when we in India were given the opportunity to provide content that was relevant for us as a country within the COIL sessions. So they felt really valued, they felt that they were really providing some contents there. And that is really a powerful statement, because that also justifies the fact that the collaboration has to start between tutors first. And then the students will follow, because they will feel it, there will be that sense. And that further diagram that I should really update now, but that further diagram you can see, we published on this with colleagues, and we identified further key themes that you have to take in consideration when you establish that collaboration. The first one is obvious, topic of common interest, and that can be really for any subject and discipline. But then you have to have the mutual enrichment. So you have to provide that environment where there is a 50-50 ownership of the content and a 50-50 contribution to the sessions. So sometimes you might think, my session is perfect as it is, I don't need to change anything. And yet instead, giving the opportunity for that change to happen, open up those spaces or those cracks where the growth happens, will allow those, the students to have the perspective from the other institution, the other country. So mutual enrichment has to be a key point. Then you have, in our case, worked really well the cooperative teaching model. So we had sessions, the session was delivered by all the tutors with different elements of the session delivered by the different tutors. In my case, for example, I delivered part of the session in English and part of the session in Italian to be able to give our students the ability to hear another language and understand what that means to be able to be taught in another language. And then we have active participation. We said this also in the guidelines. You have to make it graded. So the work that you do in COIL has to have some assessment meaning to be able for the students to see the worth of it, even when it is difficult to grasp that worth. And assessment worked really well in this case. One comment I get quite often is, my course might not need COIL because I have so many international students in my classroom, they don't really need that COIL. And the question I ask at that point is, how many opportunities do your students have to actually share the intercultural perspective on a specific topic that you're teaching? How much that could even be better if you have another institution that is working with you? And so that could really be a conversation that you want to have with your other member of staff that's teaching with you. So it's not necessarily only having a diverse classroom, but it's actually a diverse perspective classroom, which is different, but it's enriching the meaning of it. 4 key points that we wanted to stress out. I'm going to just run through them. So this again is from SUNY COIL, and it's just giving you an idea of what the 5 to 14 for the matter sessions should really include as key pillars for the COIL aspect, so to promote that competencies development in COIL. Ice-breaking, team building. This is something that I was looking into the literature when I was planning for my COIL. Quite often, when we do team collaboration, we expect our students to work peer-to-peer, to work collaboratively, to take feedback from each other on a specific topic. How do we make sure that they trust each other in that? Because one of the problems is, if we are at the same level, why do you want to teach me on that topic? Why do you want to give me feedback on that topic? Why should I learn from you? The tutor is someone that knows it. You know, that type of mindset. You break it through possible icebreakers, through that team building. Then you give the opportunities for comparative discussion, and that's really important, so the tasks will have to have that embedded. Then the project, because project-based learning is what COIL is, so you have tasks that feed in within the final outcome of the project, and the final outcome has to be presented in somehow. So students have to have that opportunity for reflection and to provide conclusions from it. So the next few slides are just a further breakdown of these key pillars, but we put them down because the actual, I'm just gonna, the actual tool that we are developing is based on those 4 key pillars as well. Just to give you one key point there, as we said already, the conversation around the COIL, especially at the designing stage, very naturally will take you then, after the COIL has happened, to maybe talk about MOOCs, micro-credential, T&E. So take that in consideration when you do your designing stage. More to say here is one particular pedagogy that we applied in our COIL. This is an experience, a case study if you want to say, an experience in our courses is participatory pedagogy. And in participatory pedagogy, we asked our students to actually publish with us on the outcomes of the COIL. So we have, especially this on the left, you will see an article where students were all co-authors with us, and that worked really well for their own professional development. In India, for example, some students had a promotion through it, and because they were already service teachers, and here the schools that were involved into the project, they won an award for renewable energy, because the project was around renewable energy. That is impact. So that's what you want to then look into when you're writing your impact of your teaching. The tool that we are developing is based on an already existing tool that all of us have access to. So when you plan a MOOC or a micro-credential, you certainly know this, because there's a tool that the LISU, Learning Innovation Support Unit, has developed for digital education, for digital learning. So this is a mapping tool that you will use whenever you are planning to create a MOOC or a micro-credential or any form of digital learning. For the COIL, John's group and I just tweaked a wee bit, changed a little bit some of the elements. And what you will see here on the right, I'm just going to go through this quite quick, but I will share the link with you. On the right, these are all learning types. They work well in digital learning. They don't work that well face-to-face. You need to change them a little bit if you are using this for face-to-face. On the top, you will see the 4 key pillars for COIL. All you do is really about taking a block, for example, I'll say this again. When you come towards that conversation around brainstorming for COIL, you need to know what is taught in your sessions. So you need to actually map your sessions. So what do you do in those 2 hours? Only one way to map it is to use this map and take the blocks of each learning element. So let's say that your first 10 minutes of a course, of a session, is a reading. So that's an acquisition, and normally a passive type of acquisition. Right, okay, so what you take is the block for reading, which is the blue block at the top. You copy and paste, you move it, this is just like mirror map, so you move it into the learning aspects of your session, and then you label it, and you just say, this is my reading, this is the time it takes. You do this for the whole lesson, for the whole session, and you will see what are the gaps. How much are you teaching as acquisition? Are you using a variety of tools? What tools are you using? Do you need another one that might be better for that particular session? Once you have that clarity in your mind, you might go to your partner and say, here is where I want to COIL. Can we discuss it, please? Can we have a look at what is on your side? You or them don't need to use this, but if that helps, it's available. Is that okay? Once you have mapped your sessions, you will also be able to give a label on the 4 key pillars, and you will be able to see, do I have enough icebreakers? Where are my icebreakers? Are they at the beginning, at the end of my sessions? Where do I need them? So you are able to make those changes with a wee bit more clarity It doesn't mean that will work. That work or doesn't work, it needs to be reflected at the end of your sessions. But at least you have the initial clarity. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say for the contribution that we have done with research and with the mapping tool at the School of Education.